and welcome to the Great International Education and School Fair. And we're delighted to introduce you today to our latest webinar, What to Look For in an International School, presented by a truly international school, International School of Ho Chi Minh City. And I'm delighted to introduce you today to our discussion conversation, which is going to be with Kim Green, Head of School, Kim Blackett, President of the Parent Teachers Organisation, and Emmy Koch, President of the Student Executive Team. So lovely to see you all today. So, yes, indeed. And just to let you know, I had the fabulous opportunity of visiting the school last November. So I can't believe that was a whole year ago. And the school just blew me away. It's just got such energy and excitement and a wonderful environment. So I'm really thrilled to be back, if not physically back with you, just to hear a bit more about it and what makes it such a special place. But first of all, let's just hear a little bit about you as individuals and tell us a little bit about the school as well. So shall we start with you, Kim Green? And you're new to the school, I understand, this academic year.
Thank you, Fiona, and it's lovely to be here with you. Yes, I am new into Ho Chi Minh City and I am new into Ishmik. I think I'm in about my 15th week on the ground here after a very interesting transition. As we know, the world is a different place at the moment. I am a New Zealander by origin and I come to Ishmik by a pathway which has been both national based in education, but also international over the last 16 years. I've spent a period of time in Vientiane, Laos. I've also spent time in Bangladesh, and more recently, before I came here to Vietnam, I was in Qatar in the Middle East. It's a great delight and pleasure to be here, and it's a great delight and pleasure to be leading the Ishmik community into the future.
Thank you so much. So shall we go over to you, Kim Blackett? This is going to be confusing, knowing who we're talking to. So, Kim Blackett, tell us about your experience.
Hi, my name is Kim Blackett. I have been I'm originally from America, and I've been living abroad for a little under 10 years. Went from Boston, Massachusetts, over to China. Lived in 3 different cities in China, and then moved to recently Ho Chi Minh City. Currently the president of the PTO, and in my role, we just really try to engage and empower and energize the community. And so far, it's been, I don't know if you can actually say it's been 2 years. I mean, the span has been 2 years, but based on the climate, it's been, I don't know if you But that being said, it's been quite challenging and exciting, and I'm very excited to be working with here in to really energize our community, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, great. Well, it sounds a great job to have, and meeting all those people. Wonderful. Right. Emmy Koch, so I understand that you've moved quite a lot yourself and your family, so tell us about your background and how you arrived at Ishmik.
Yes, I have. Thank you. So my name is Emmy Koch, and I'm originally Dutch. I grew up in Holland, but when I was 6 years old, I moved to Rwanda with my family, which is in Central Africa. And I lived there for 3 years. Then I moved to Greece, Athens, lived there for 3 years as well. Then I moved to Ivory Coast, which is a country in West Africa. And 2 years ago, I moved to Vietnam, so in grade 10. Currently, I'm in grade 12, my last year of IB. And here at Ishmik, I have the honor of being SET president, which is, the SET is Ishmik's student executive team. So I'm very honored to have this leadership position and kind of get to embody student voice here at school.
Great, that all sounds very exciting. Sounds as if you've had a wonderful trip around the world already.
Yes, I have.
I think what we're wanting to achieve with this conversation is to share with people what it means, firstly, to be international, what is an international school and the international experience. But also, I think you were very keen that people listening and watching take away a feeling of, well, it doesn't matter what country or school we're going, we feel better informed and we know how to find the energy and the spirit of a school. So can you just explain that sort of concept so that people understand what we're trying to show them?
Yeah, of course, Fiona. I think that when we are relocating and we're living within an international environment or out of our home countries, we often in positions where we're needing to make choices for our families that are out of a context that we may know and understand, and out of a context that we may have experienced ourselves when we were going through our educational journeys. I think it's really important that as parents, as community members that are working with families that are relocating, that we're able to empower our community with the right questions to ask so that they can best evaluate schools, so that they can find the best fit for their child. We know that all of our children are very different. We know all of our families are very different. And I think that concept of best fit is so important to each individual family's happiness when they are living abroad, when they're living in another location. And that happiness for every family will be driven by different elements and different features of a school which resonate with them and provide them with that connection and that sense of belonging. So our intent today is to share with you a little bit about who we are as a school community here in Ho Chi Minh City, but I think more so to be able to offer to the community that is engaging with this webinar a service which will be a toolkit of questions that you might be able to ask as you are going through your own relocation journey, or when you are helping and supporting and advising people who are relocating.
Great. So that's really clear. Thank you. So everyone happy about that? We're going to showcase this school and showcase an international education to everybody. A small task there for you. So, Kim, it would be good to get your understanding of what is an international school, and you've called this a truly international school. So perhaps we'll start with you. What do you mean by a truly international school?
And I think that's a great question to ask, Fiona, because as we continue to move into the future, the number of international schools that are within each city context globally are growing exponentially. There's a rapid expansion of international school education, and that looks and feels different from school to school. We define ISHMIC here as being truly international around a number of different domains that we fit. And to me, truly international is related to curriculum. So is the curriculum that a school's offering international in nature? Is it flexible? Is it transferable? Does it build and foster the development of skills and concepts that enable children to be able to potentially transfer from that school location either back to a home-based location or into another international environment? Is the school fostering and valuing multilingualism and the diverse language community that exists? Is the school embracing and embodying and demonstrating intercultural understanding and an open-mindedness, which leads to what we would define as being internationally minded or an international mindedness, a way of thinking which is beyond our cultural norms, looking through different lenses from different perspectives and trying to understand context. For us here at ISHMIC, it's also about national diversity, so diversity in our nationalities. Do we have a wide range of nationalities and cultures which enable us that opportunity to transcend and understand different perspectives in a very authentic way. And then I also believe that a truly international school is a school that's going to empower our young people to transition into international post-secondary study. So are we giving, as a school, the students the toolkit that they need so that university doorways can open up to them in any country of the world? So what is that qualification framework? Is it internationally accredited? Is it grounded in an international framework? Is it globally recognized? And then finally, I believe that one of the greatest elements of a truly international school is a school which is globally connected, uses global context and global awareness to be able to drive through the curriculum and develop understandings. And it's a school that uses the global context to be very adaptive and to be innovative and very forward-thinking.
Well, I think that was an excellent explanation, and I think you're quite right. Often parents are confused by the sheer numbers and the growth of international schools and being able to work their way through that. And they may arrive in a country and think, oh, there's loads of schools we could go to, and then they realise that actually, as an expatriate or some family on international assignment, they can't go to those schools at all.
And I would encourage that concept of truly international, that concept of looking for internationalism through multiple domains within a school community. And I think truly international contexts are quite unique and special and quite rare within the international education sector.
Yes, and I think for the future, building and what we've all been through with the pandemic, that going forward, in some ways we are becoming more international and linked and connected to people through these difficult times. But we can explore that necessarily later. So over to you then, Emmy. I mean, you've moved through a number of different schools. How does this school reflect as a truly international school in your experience through your education?
Yeah, so I've definitely lived in many different countries and therefore been in international schools for almost all of my life. However, Ishmik is quite unique in the sense that the international mindedness, which Ms. Green was talking about earlier, is really reflective in all assets of the school. For example, our school really focuses on creating well-rounded individuals rather than merely providing you with an education. I think Ishmik goes further in the sense that it is encouraged to explore yourself as a person and develop your identity beyond the realms of the school, but within the community, but also beyond that, in terms of your future and where you'd like to go. And for me personally, I found that being in Ishmik has really given me the opportunity to develop myself in different ways. Before coming here, I was never really an active member in terms of extracurriculars and focused mainly on academics. However, once I arrived here, I joined the varsity basketball and volleyball teams, which sports play quite an important role in Ishmik, and it's an important aspect of student life in terms whether you join teams or simply watch games. It's like a whole thing. So I found that coming here and joining these sports teams really gave me an easy way into the school community. I was able to make friends straight away. I gained an appreciation for what school spirit meant at Ishmik, and that way I was able to develop myself in a way that I hadn't been able to before, beyond academics, and get a sense of the added value that being in a team and being a team player had to me as an individual. So I found that this small example of the sports teams in Ishmik goes to show a greater sense of international mindedness, which is present throughout the school and in various facets. Whether you'd like to develop yourself in terms of sports or in terms of arts, Ishmik really encourages you to do so in order to make you a well-rounded individual and give you the opportunity to develop yourself in a way that you haven't before. So I find that to be an example of a way in which Ishmik really embodies what it means to be an international school.
And did you have were you part of the decision-making choosing a school when you came, or how much did your parents involve you in that?
Well, now that I think back on it, I'm surprised my parents didn't involve me in it. I think I should have had more of a say. But nevertheless, I'm quite glad that they chose to send me to Ishmik. The international community in Ho Chi Minh City is quite tight. There's a lot of communication and interaction amongst schools. So therefore, I'm often able to compare Ishmik to other schools in the city. And I found that one thing that Ishmik is really known for and really sets it apart is the fact that it is so well-rounded and balanced. It's not like, oh, Ishmik is the school for academics. Oh, Ishmik is the school for sports. Ishmik is more of an establishment that kind of has it all. So I'm very grateful to be part of this community and to have the opportunity to develop myself in so many ways rather than being restricted within one part of myself, if that makes sense.
Yes. And when you were a small child, when you moved, do you remember the things that made it easy or difficult when you went to a new school? Because it seems nowadays we've learned quite a lot about transition care and settling people in. But is there anything that stands out that, oh, when I went to that school, that really made me feel special, or I felt a bit lost? Or
well, I've been lucky in the sense that over my entire life, it's been quite easy for me to settle into schools, and I've never really had a bad experience with coming into a new school and making friends. However, I found that in Ishmik, one thing that, as I mentioned before, that really helped me make friends was joining sports teams straight away and just throwing myself out there. And I feel like in every school that I've arrived in, I've tried to join extracurriculars, join clubs, join lunchtime activities by taking the opportunities that the school offers you in terms of school spirit. It's been so easy for me to make friends and kind of be welcomed into an international community. But I've also found that because I'm so familiar with international communities, I kind of know how to handle the situation coming into a new school. It doesn't really scare me as much anymore. But I can imagine that if it's the first time that you come into such an environment, it can be possibly overwhelming that you have so many different people with so many different opinions from all over the world. So it might be daunting at first. I can imagine it is. But I believe that once you open yourself up to all the different people, and whether it be teachers or students, you'll find that international schools, almost all of them, at least the ones I've been to, really embrace this sense of school spirit and community, since everyone here is mainly from somewhere else and is therefore away from their family, away from their home country, away from what they're familiar with. So you're kind of in this you're each sharing a very valuable experience with one another, which kind of creates a sense of community and makes it really easy to relate to one another, even if you're from completely different parts of the world.
Well, that's some good tips there. So throw yourself in seems to be your recommendation. So from a parent perspective, then, Kim Blackett, I mean, you've also moved a lot. So what do you think parents need to do to make sure that they settle into the school? And what does your association that you're now the president of, your organisation, how does that help?
So what I found in coming to different schools, I'm looking at it from a parent perspective, and I really want to make sure that the environment that I'm putting my children in is a safe environment, is an environment where diversity is important, is celebrated, where yes, there's a strong focus on academics, but like Emmy was saying, that there's a whole, there's a well-rounded, balanced aspect to the learning, so that my young children can actually explore different parts of them, so that they can actually be afforded the opportunity that they may not be in their own country. And definitely when you go in there, the same sense of community is important. you want to be able to have access to staff, because you're coming from it, like usually when you're starting a school and you're in your own familiar environment, you kind of already know there are questions that you don't really need to ask because they're very familiar to you. But when you're coming to an environment that is completely foreign to what you are used to, you want to just have the sense that people are there, that your child will be able to grow and hit horizons. And when people are, I think a lot of what we all say is that community is the most important aspect when you come to international, that you don't have family here, you don't have a lot of the things that are familiar. So the things that become familiar are the community and the sameness and the connectedness we all have when we're coming to. So I think that's the first things that you look for as a parent coming in an international.
Great, thank you. So we lost a little bit of the sound there, but we'll catch up, perhaps bring some of those points out again. So I think, Kim Green, you know your team here, who are, perhaps you'd like to guide them a bit round so that they can really showcase what different aspects of the school and the learning bring it together to create this really special environment. So shall I leave you to lead a bit of a conversation now about the education and the quality of education and the range of different topics that they'll come across here?
Sure, thank you, Fiona. I think maybe I'll just start by sharing a little bit more about who we are as a school. And I think that will also help guide questions that people can ask. So Ishmik is a school that was established 27 years ago. And when we were established to serve the expatriate community. And that has really guided our identity and how we have shaped and formed and grown over time. So you hear Emmy talk about the diversity that's here and all of the different perspectives and friendships that she's been able to build. And we hear Kim talk about the importance of community. And that's certainly something which sits right at the heart and core of who we are as a school. And I think that as we make that transition into a international environment and a truly international school, we want to know that we have a place. We want to know that we can belong, and we want to know that we have connections. Because as Kim rightfully said, when you relocate, you're often away from family, and as we've all learned through COVID-19, sometimes away from family for a long period of time. So you need to rebuild those and create connections and location. I think one of the powerful pieces that I would be looking for, and Ishmik holds very dear to our heart, is what is the school doing to really support and build those connections to create that community? Because community doesn't happen by osmosis. Community happens intentionally. And I would refer to the work that Kim and her team do as parents, the outreach that they do to be able to welcome parents into the school and to provide opportunities for parents to engage. And I know that she might be able to talk a little bit more about what some of those opportunities are. You know, for our parents who are relocating, where we may have one parent who is not working, I know that we have many, many different ways that our parents then engage very, very actively in school life. And then I think I would, I'll have a different sort of question I can direct to Emmy, so she can also talk a little bit more about what we do as a school to support transition for students.
Brilliant.
So maybe I'll go to Kim.
Okay. So as part of the parent-teacher organization, our focus is to energize, engage, and empower our parents. We really want to bring parents from all different walks of life, all different cultures, into just sharing and building bridges with us. So we have an onboarding process that we're constantly trying to update and make it better. But we have country reps currently that represent the country that they're originally from. And we use this as a tool to kind of maybe bridge up between language, different places in the city that they're living in, so that they can have a community. Then with that same, always find a way to come together, bring everything together, so that we have different events. We'll start our first Fridays, where we've been getting huge. We've been having a lot of positive feedback based on the first Friday event, bringing a lot of people together. We have the parent night. I explained to you before that was basically just having people being able to connect with teachers and administration and just have a good time and just kind of not be the parent, not be the administrator, but just be people just connecting in a very social environment. We also have movie night where we kind of want to bring families together and just chill out, hang out on the lawn, watch a movie, enjoy time with everyone, and still have that community. So we really try to be intentional with our events, so that we're bringing in all aspects of our community, whether it be the teachers and and also sometimes the students, just so we can always engage and like intentional with our mission.
Great.
So I think before I hand over to Emmy with quite a specific question, I think one of the interesting elements through transition and relocation is our children, our students that we work with, and the challenge that transition has on us socially, emotionally, as well as readjusting to a new context. This year with COVID, what we've been doing as a school community is running a transition to campus program. So we've transitioned now about 96 students through this program, which means that prior to their arrival here at ISHMIC, we connect with the family, we connect with the student, we begin their learning journey 3 weeks out from arrival. We connect them with their classmates, they engage with their classmates whilst they're going through quarantine here in Ho Chi Minh City. And what we've then been seeing is these beautiful young people arriving on campus, excited to get into their uniforms and straight off to class, with their classmates saying, "Oh my gosh, you're here and you're real. We're so excited to see you," and great big hugs. And then, of course, the student experience takes over. And I think that there are a number of things which are undertaken on both campuses to then intentionally create belonging, community, and spirit, which is where I sort of hand over to Emmy, because I know that there's a lot of different opportunities, engagements that the SET are leading, that our house leaders are leading, to really give all of our student body a place to connect and to build spirit. So Emmy, would you like to talk about that a bit more?
Yes. So at ISHMIC, there's a buddy system for new students. So basically how it works is that prior to arriving at ISHMIC, via the parents, students from ISHMIC reach out to new upcoming students and through social media, so that before students even arrive to the orientation day, they've already been brought in touch with an ISHMIC student, their buddy. I was personally, when I arrived to ISHMIC, I also had a buddy, which took up a lot of my stress, because I think it was a month before school started, my buddy already reached out to me via Instagram. And we just talked back and forth about Ho Chi Minh City, what it's like to live here, as well as ISHMIC. How does it work? How many classes do you have in a day? What are the teachers like? Is the school food good? Just things like that you're curious about. So that when I arrived to orientation day, which is the day before the first day of school, I knew straight away who my buddy was. I could just easily start up a conversation with them. And up until this day, I'm still friends with my buddy from the first day of school. So I found that to be very helpful. And as I mentioned before, through my buddy, I then also joined the sports team. So that kind of catalyzed the rest of my experience at Ishmael and made it so much easier. And on a larger scheme of things, at Ishmael, we have various aspects which encourage student-driven aspects which encourage school spirit. As Ms. Green mentioned, we have the house and SET, which are the two main components that are led by students. So SET is more a platform for student leaders to step up and vocalize needs and wants that students have brought through, as well as organize events such as assemblies, celebrate Teacher Appreciation Day. We have Christmas coming up, organizing festivities for that. And the SET works very closely with house. At Ishmael, we have 4 house teams, which are titled by animals and have different colors. And basically for school activities related to sports mainly, we divide up inside these houses, which include students from all grades. And this way, students are kind of encouraged to communicate with students that they may not see on a daily basis in their class. And then these houses are driven by house captains, which are leaders from grade 6 to grade 12, which is quite unique since you have grade 6 students who step up and take the mic and instruct the entire school about what dodgeball game we're going to play or a particular sprinting event, etc. So by encouraging communication between the house and the SET, Ishmael has a lot of school-driven events during lunchtime, after school, which really make Ishmael unique in a sense and create this sense of school spirit, which is prevalent everywhere you go. When you walk through the corridors, 12th graders say hi to 6th graders, 8th graders meet 10th graders, which I have found to be quite surprising. It's not often that you see that in international schools, but really makes Ishmael stand out in terms of community spirit. And once you're in this community, you feel very welcome. Therefore, I think it's been, what I can see, quite easy for new students who come to Ishmael to just be immersed in this Ishmael experience straight away.
And I'd like to comment on that. When I visited, there's this huge amount of energy and excitement, and very, very wide corridors. And we were being taken around by wonderfully enthusiastic people from your admissions team. And then suddenly there will be a change or a time and people were shooting out of rooms. But he actually literally on these amazing chairs and whizzed across the corridor, and there would suddenly be a little sub-class room going on, and the teacher would follow, and they were suddenly saying, oh, we're going to do this now. Oh, I thought, well, this is amazing. This is like some sort of super Harry Potter on wheels and marvellous whiteboard. I thought, goodness me, such excitement. They're in real sort of dynamic sense of people working on projects and things. So the physical environment of the school, Kim, that seems to be very special. The design of it, there's lots of openness and light and green plants as well. Tell us a bit about the physical environment of the school.
So our campuses, we have 2 campuses, and I guess to clarify, Maddie's spoken about grades 6 through to 12, but we serve our community from our 2-year-olds all the way through to our 18-year-olds. So we have our Early Explorers program in the primary school, and then we have our phenomenal DP students or IB diploma students at the upper end. And there is interconnectivity across both campuses, there's interconnectivity across age groups, and both of our campuses have been designed in a particular way to really support inquiry-based learning, to provide lots of opportunities for our students to be able to be the owners of the learning experience. Lots of opportunities for breakout spaces. A lot of, you mentioned the corridors, Fiona. In our secondary school, we have very, very wide corridors with whiteboards down the corridors, built with the intention for our students to be able to use those spaces as learning spaces. And in our elementary school, we have our grade levels set up in villages or communities. And in those communities, they have a town hall area, which is an open space where, again, students can break out and work in project-based groups. For us, it's really important that our students have agency in their learning. We know that motivation comes from having a sense of purpose and being able to develop your own mastery. Our teachers are facilitators of that learning journey. And if we are to live to our mission, which is to energize, engage, and empower our learners, then we need to make sure that we are creating or building the environment for that to happen. You mentioned the gardens that we have. All of the gardens across both of our campuses are maintained or grown by our community. We have not had any landscape architects. It is at the hands and the creation of a community that believe in sustainability. We have opportunities for students to work in ways where they can explore concepts, transfer ideas, and be the explorers. Opportunities for their curiosity to take them on a journey. And I think that, Emmy can speak on behalf of the student body, and I think Kim can speak on behalf of the parents, but there is a lot of energy. You've used the word energy. I'd say we are a playful environment. Our students have a lot of room to be able to learn through play. They have a lot of opportunity to own their learning, and they have a lot of opportunity to explore areas that they're really passionate about themselves. But I would say maybe Kim or Emmy might want to add any pieces to that.
Can I ask a question about the gardens? Have you dipped into that, Kim? Because I was told that when the garden started, it really resonated with a lot of families because they didn't have space or gardens where they were actually living, might have been in an apartment, and to actually get stuck in and grow things was something very familiar that they'd done perhaps in their home country or previously. And brought people together. I don't know if you've had to get your hands into the soil and plant some seeds.
I think there are many people who have got their hands in the soil here at ISHMIC. We very much co-construct where we're going, and you talk about that concept of putting your hands in the soil or reconnecting with nature and values. I think that's very much about who we are as a community. You may have heard when Emmy was talking earlier, the chimes in the background, which currently we're on a secondary campus, and that was as our student body were transitioning into mindfulness. Connecting with our environment, connecting with nature, understanding who we are, our care for ourselves and for each other, and our care for the environment are very important parts of the ISHMIC culture.
So do you have some comments to make, Kim? What's the best things about the physical environment of the school, and how have the parents been part of that, or what do your children enjoy most?
So what we really like is the concept of the open campuses, and being able to challenges notwithstanding with COVID, but being able to kind of go on to campus and be able to have a coffee in the parent lounge, or a coconut in the parent lounge, or being able to do the Story Club, go up to the PO room and work on some projects that we're going to raise money to do our next event, or going to the boardroom and passing by the basketball court and seeing people like convening, talking, chatting, playing. There's so much life that happens on the campus that is very, and it's not just where you would like in a school where you see kids running around and playing and by themselves, but you literally see an integrative system where maybe some of the administrative staff will be over there playing in the sand pit with some of the kids, and you'll see some of the parents walking by bringing maybe a project that they had on for the teacher appreciation day, and you'll just see a lot of different happening, and it's just such a lively place for that kind of breathe community that just when it becomes almost abnormal to not see a lot of the things happen. So from the parent perspective, I think what you really appreciate is that life and that energy that you see as you come into school. So yeah, for sure, there's definitely a whole lot going on whenever you walk into one of our campuses.
So what about your perspective then, Emmy?
What stands out to me in terms of ISHMIC's facilities is the integration of CAS in our campus. So for those who don't know, CAS is an important part of the IB diploma, which is stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service. And all IB diploma students must complete CAS requirements, which means that throughout the 2-year course, you have to ensure that you reflect upon creative, active, and service experiences. And in our school, we've kind of taken CAS to like the next level. It's a requirement, but I feel like at ISHMIC, they really embrace this as an important part of the diploma rather than just a requirement. And this is really seen throughout the campus. For example, our school has a lot of CAS groups, which some are service oriented, some focus on creativity, and some on activity. So when you walk in the school during lunchtime or after school especially, you see a lot of the CAS groups at work. In the kitchen, for example, you'll see the cooking club, or outside there's a rock climbing wall, which I believe is about to be turned into a CAS group as well. Then you have the gardening club, which I was also a part of for a while, which worked during lunchtime and was part of creativity and service. Then you have, of course, the sports teams. We have the Rhino mascot, which is for all normal sports, and then the Stingrays, which is our swimming team, which train in the mornings. So when you walk around school, you see all these little sub-communities at work, and everyone's allowed to be part of any community. It's not closed off at all. Everyone's encouraged to be part of multiple communities, actually. And I believe that this is an important part of the ISHMIC experience. It goes so much further than the requirement for the IB diploma. It's about making friends with people in different grades, with your own peers. It's about enriching yourself in ways that you've never done before. For example, last year, I remember with a few friends, I joined the Mahjong CAS club, which is like the Chinese game that we saw in a movie, and we wanted to try it out. So we did that for a few months. So I believe that ISHMIC's facility really enables and encourages us to take part in these groups. I've never felt restricted in the campus, rather inspired or encouraged to join these CAS groups and be part of things. Not many schools have a rock climbing wall on the back. So when you see things like that, it makes you excited and makes you willing to join these CAS groups, which I believe is something that not many teenagers across the world have the luxury to be offered.
And indeed, some schools have got very cramped environments right in a very urban setting. So it must be really great to have all that space.
Yeah.
So what about on the learning front then, Kim Green? You know, science subjects, biology, STEM, and the creative part. You know, I'm out of touch with all the educational terms, but I mean, it seems to be really important to include the creative and the arts subjects as well as the science and technology, and looking forward to future careers and where young people like Emmy are going in the future. There's a lot about emotional intelligence that employers are looking for, and we've all been through this terrible COVID experience, but possibly that's made us all more resilient and agile, which are the sort of qualities that are being looked for in future job roles. And of course, Vietnam itself is growing at such a pace and is an exciting community and business and economic growth, as well as there's the balance with the sustainability and climate change. So all those things you're preparing young people for. So as a head teacher, how do you encapsulate all that and bring it together without it being overwhelming, and also give the parents the aspirations they have for their children in the future?
It's a really good question, Fiona, and I think I could probably spend a number of days working through answering that. I think I would start by saying that as an IB continuum school, that we work within a curriculum framework which values the holistic development of the whole child, which means for us, right from the age of 2 all the way through to age of 18, our students engage in a very, very broad curriculum which enables them to engage in learning across multiple learning domains. In our primary years program, that means that it's very transdisciplinary. So we look at how we bring those domains together and work through concepts so students can develop understandings. As we move up through the school into the middle school, the learning is interdisciplinary. It means that we are looking and the students are starting to identify the more discrete nature of subject groups, but they are still bringing those different discipline understandings together to create, produce, and be the innovators. And then as we move up into the diploma program, obviously the subjects become much more discipline focused. They have their own methodologies. We're starting to very much make sure that we've got our students prepared for that tertiary education step that they're going to take. However, the program is still a broad program, asking our students to learn across different subject domains. So languages, arts, sciences, mathematics, the social sciences. And I think that that is part of what helps develop the uniqueness of our graduates and of an IB graduate, is the fact that their learning journey has enabled them to transfer understandings and knowledge, to be able to look at connections and understand how disciplines can support growth and innovation, whilst also having at the graduating end, the discipline methodology, which places them in a very strong position when they head into university. And I think it's then enhanced by culminating project points through the journey. So our grade 5 or studio 5 students engage in an exhibition where they draw on the skills that they've developed through the primary years program. They pursue an inquiry and then they present their understandings to the community.
I think we've lost Kim for a moment there, so maybe we'll just go over to you, Emmy, to just give us... Sorry. We just lost you for a moment there. If you could just repeat that last sentence, or part of it.
Culminates in the personal project, which is a research-based project, again drawing on skills but focused on an area the students are passionate about. And then transcends into the diploma program where the students engage in a research project within a specific discipline using the discipline methodology, and they produce a 4,000 word research report at the end. So I think from a curriculum perspective, it's important that we give our students the skills that they need to be successful when they leave school. And I think that the framework that we work within enables us to ensure that we can develop resilience and we can develop perseverance and we can develop digital citizenship and literacy skills, and we can develop communication skills and critical and creative thinking skills through the transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary and disciplinary nature of that experience, so that when our students transition out, they have the adaptability, they have the ability to transfer knowledge, skills or understandings into any of the different pathways that they may choose to take.
So the IB and the IB's programs throughout the school, you feel that gives the best pathway to to the future. You're passionate about the IB, I can hear that.
I'm very passionate about it, but I also think that that IB programs look different in different schools, and that's the intention of the IB as well. The IB is intended to be contextualized within context. So I think that as we look at our school, we also look at what are the elements in our community that we want to value and honor, and we want to highlight and showcase and celebrate. And Emmy's spoken about sport. I think arts as well is another area in our school community which is of great value to us as a community, through just from the physical facilities in terms of having a beautiful theatre and a black box, and having beautiful visual art spaces, to the opportunities that our students have to engage in instrumental music programs and to engage in extracurricular activities around the arts. STEM for us is a flourishing area of our school community. We have a large competitive group of mathematicians who are very, very active within the region. We have students who are involved in Model United Nations. We have students who are involved in debate. We have students who are engaging in all sorts of domains which enhance, support the curriculum through the extracurricular program. And I think that whilst we have the IB framework which guides us in terms of the pedagogy and how teaching and learning looks within our classrooms, we also have a responsibility as a school to identify what are the elements that we need, what are the areas we need to value and leverage so that our students can come out with the effective skills that they need to be able to be successful.
And of course, the IB is a great program for transferring if families do have to move on after a few years. Following an IB pathway and program helps families. And also you're part of the Cognita group. So again, that's another way of looking at where the next school might be.
Correct, Fiona, and we've got students families we've worked with who have moved locations and moved from one Cognita school to another Cognita school, and that's something as a school that we support and help with the transition. And I would also say that, you know, when you're looking at a truly international school environment, you also want to know and understand that the standards and benchmarks that school is using that sit behind the IB framework are also enabling our children to reach international grade level norms, and that we want to be able to guarantee to our families that no matter where they're going to transition into, whether that's transitioning back into American curriculum, British curriculum, or if they're returning home, or if they're transitioning from our school into another IB school, that their young people will have the skills, the knowledge, and the understandings to be successful. And I think that can be measured in a school community in different ways. Some schools will have standardized external assessment points that they can share, that you can see as a parent, that shows you where the school is tracking against international norms. And then, of course, we also have the individual growth and the responsiveness of each individual child's learning journey and what that looks like. So I would just encourage parents and people who are looking at relocating to be looking for those points of measurement that you can use to look at that comparativity, so that you know that your child is going to have the best opportunities that are possible, and that their learning journey is going to be continuous. You know, we want each of our children from the age of 2 to the age of 18 to have a continuous learning journey, so that they can be successful and they can continue into that tertiary level of education.
So Kim, the members of your organisation, do you find that they're particularly, that's what they were looking for, particularly if they've got older children, where they might go in the future, and that their education may be continued on their next assignment as well? I know a lot of international parents can be extremely aspirational and looking forward to the next stage and on to university and even on to jobs. So how, as a person, president of your organisation, you must have a lot of anxious parents at some stage when there's exams coming up. So how important do you think it is, the whole academic aspirations?
The academic aspirations are quite important because, again, you're leaving something that you know in your own country, and you're going into a different environment, and you're always worried about, is this going to measure up to my expectations? Is my child going to be on the same level as when they go back home? Always these different things that happen in your head. And I mean, I was one of those anxious parents. I came in and I was talking to admissions, and I was like, well, at 3 they're reading in America, but I think when you kind of when you immerse yourself into the situation and you kind of step back and trust the process, you see so much of the benefit of not just focusing on the academic part and trusting your child to trusting your child, trusting the administration, and trusting the teachers to get the best out of your child. And I think the anxiety comes from not knowing. And a lot of parents, when you come into an IB situation, it's fun and it's lively and it's energetic, particularly with issues. But then you're saying to yourself, "Oh, where do the studies come?" And I think being part of this, that you have to, when you realize that sport is a learning process, art is a learning process. You can learn mathematics through art. You can learn mathematics through. When you take an integrative approach to what the IB schools offer, I think a lot of anxiety kind of can. And also, I think what the administration does a great job in explaining the process and making sure that, yes, it's not going to be exactly the same, but here's what you're getting out of it. Very often, a lot of the anxieties also can be cross-cultural. And, you always look at trying to compare apples to apples when this is not exactly what it is. You're getting so much more in and having your child be able to explore this aspect of what they can be in the future. And I remember growing up, and I was in this classroom environment, and you sat in the desk and you listened to the teacher, and there was a lecture. And what you quickly find out is that it definitely walks in. And I think having 10 years under my belt in terms of being in international schools, you start to appreciate so much more of what learning can be, and you start to appreciate how much more of an experiential situation that your child is getting, being in an international environment, being around an environment where you can learn things and be part of different. But it goes without saying. The parents are going to, and it's not until they talk to other people. We always have some kind of people where you're like, "Oh, I understand that you are having this particular issue. I know somebody who was having that, and it was overcome." I to talk about, and basically making sure that we take that anxiety, because questions are not unique, right? And match them up to other situations and other parents that might be experiencing the same thing, so that they can kind of have a conversation and be able to bridge that gap between, okay, what are my expectations? What am I going to get out of it? And how do I meet in the middle and figure out, well, maybe I need to just process. So I think there's just comes from knowledge and becoming more aware of the situation.
Great, thank you. And I think, Emmy, we must hear from you, because you moved at a what some people might have thought would be quite an alarming time to move schools when you're just approaching your diploma. So how do you feel about where you're going in the future and what the different subjects that you've studied, how have they prepared you? And do you know where you're going? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, so I did move at an older age. I moved to Ishmael at the start of grade 10. So that's the year before the DP program. So I actually was able to complete the MYP personal project, which is an important part of the MYP program. And I really enjoyed doing that. And then when it came to grade 11, there was a big transition in terms of the teaching style and the type of courses that I attended. In grade 10, class was more project-based. There was more interdisciplinary cross-connections between courses and classes. But when it came to grade 11 and 12, I got the freedom to choose courses, which I really enjoyed, because for the first time, I was able to make an important decision for my future. And at that time, I already had to take into consideration what I wanted to pursue later on in university. So that was really an important milestone for me, because even though I don't have a diploma yet, that was one of the points in my academic career where I really got to take charge of my own learning and what I wanted to do in my future. And in hindsight, I'm very happy with the courses I chose. Though it's quite early to have to choose what you want to become later on or at a later age, I'm still looking at pursuing the same study in university. I'm currently looking at going to either the United Kingdom or the Netherlands, where I'm from, in order to get into a business degree. So in order to do that, I had to take Math HL, which is quite a challenging course. But by educating myself on the different options I have, by talking to peers and my teachers as well, and getting support from university counselors, I was able to make such important decisions at quite an early age, and make sure that right now at the stage I am at, where I'm almost approaching IB exams, I'm happy with the courses I chose. I have no regrets, and actually enjoy all the subjects that I take, since they interest me personally. So yeah, I'm not quite sure where I'm going to be in the future. I'm working on university applications as we speak and preparing myself for interviews. So it's quite an exciting time, but I'll have to see where life will take me and where I'll end up after this summer.
Brilliant. So it sounds as if you're approaching it all with great confidence, which I think is a huge recommendation for the preparation you've had. So I think it's probably time now to sort of wrap up, don't you think, Kim? Is there anything more that you would like to highlight and draw out of our conversation today?
I just think that the last thing that I would want to go back to is just sort of underpinning what makes a child's journey through school successful. And I think that when we look at the educational journey, we can talk about opportunities and we can talk about extracurricular. And as a school here, we certainly look at how we can provide many authentic ways that our students can be creators, producers, and innovators. And I know that we need to make sure, as parents, when we're making choices, that the academic rigor is in place, so that we know that there is transferability, but also that our young people can open the doors into whatever future pathway that they want to pursue. But I think for all of those things to happen and to work, we have to have a focus on the well-being of our community, and we have to be focused on making sure that our parent community, our children, our student community and young adults, and our faculty are in a place where they can all thrive and all flourish and all be the best that they can possibly be. Because when we are all the best that we can possibly be, and we're in a place where we are healthy and we are well, and we have the resources and the support networks, and we know how to use those support resources and networks, then we're going to put ourselves in a place for success. So here at Ishmik, we are very, very proud of our culture of care. We're very proud of the work that we do around safeguarding for our children. We're also very, very proud to have very, very robust learning support teams, teachers who support students with language acquisition, teachers who support and foster enrichment for students who are gifted and talented, and also a very, very strong counselling team supported by grade level leaders and a pastoral structure, which ensures that on a daily basis we're constantly keeping our minds and our hearts on that most fundamental human element that needs to be in place for anything else to play out and be successful. So healthy, happy people means that we can flourish, thrive, and the academic rigor will be embraced. The extracurricular will add to who we are. The friendships will bloom. Our spirit and our community will be energized, and we'll truly, as individuals, be empowered on our own paths.
Thank you so much. I think you encapsulated that very well. It's been a fascinating conversation, and thank you for taking me on another whistle-stop tour of your wonderful school in Ho Chi Minh City. So would you like to just say a final word then, Kim Blackett, about the school as we say goodbye to you?
I'd like to say that I am so happy that I landed here because first of all, it has a very great reputation to begin with. However, when you're actually in the school and you're involved in the community, you start to realize so much of the uniqueness that is embedded in it. And you start to really appreciate and even start to expand what could be. You start to think things differently for your children. You start to think things differently for yourself. Start to appreciate different cultures, nuances, and just life. So I think, quite frankly, like just being in this kind of environment, I couldn't be more pleased about the future of my children. I listen to Emmy and I hear the confidence in her words. I hear the confidence in her learning. And I see my kids are younger, they're 5 and 7, and you can't help but to feel inspired by the students in this school and the kind of education that they're getting at the present moment. And so I just want to say that, you know, there are going to be anxieties. There are going to be things that you may not love, but there's always going to be that sense of community and that sense of energy and that sense of, I know that I'm doing the right thing for my children, because you see it in their learning, you see it in the way they interact with other people, you see them developing a more global sense of themselves and a more global sense of the world. Start to hear the questions asked. It's really enlightening, it's really inspiring. So that's my takeaway from it.
Thank you. So over to you then, Emmy. It seems fitting that we finish with someone's comment who's about to embark on a whole new future. So what would you say to young people coming to the school or to any new school about their hopes and dreams, and your hopes and dreams?
Well, I just wanted to reiterate one important part Ishmik has played in my academic journey so far. As I mentioned before, I've lived in many different countries and attended many different international schools, but I can confidently say that Ishmik has really contributed to creating the person that I am today and giving me the confidence to move on with my life after summer and go to university as an independent woman and knowing what I want to do in life and my norms and values, as well as getting a sense of all the opportunities that Ishmik has provided me with in terms of enabling me to meet new people, letting me voice my opinions and thoughts as a student. Since I'm SET president, I'm often asked to represent student voice, and I have found that as an Ishmik student, I have always been listened to, whether it be by staff members, by teachers, by other students, and that is really an important takeaway for me, which has made me realize the importance of taking in input from other people and the value that someone's voice and opinion can have. So I'm very grateful to have been in Ishmik, to still be in Ishmik, but to have been, and as a student, to be so encouraged to voice my thoughts and opinions and stand my ground as an individual today, which I think is an important skill that I'll take with me for the rest of my life.
Well, I'm sure it will. Well, thank you very much. So thank you very much to Kim Green, Head of School, Kim Blackett, President of the Parent-Teacher Organisation, and to Emmy Koch, the President of Student Executive Team. It's been a great pleasure to speak to you all today.
Thank you very much, Fiona.
Thank you.
So that was a very fascinating conversation today, and I'm sure we learnt a lot about what it is to join a truly international school. So whereas we reach the final stages of the Great International Education and School Fair this week, we have a couple more webinars coming up, which include exploring different curricular and higher education options, which is going to be on Friday at 10 a.m. GMT. And then we have a closing session, which I'd urge you all to listen to, which is Chris O'Shaughnessy, who is going to deliver an inspiring talk on harnessing hope to navigate global uncertainty, which will be great fun as he's a comedian as well as a writer and author. So I hope you'll join us for that on Friday, the 27th of November at 3 p.m. GMT. Thank you very much for joining us today. There are plenty of resources on the Relocate Global website, including all the playbacks of the webinars we've conducted, and there's lots of editorial and how you can find out about more schools who've participated, including virtual tours and videos and the information about how to access admission to that school. So thank you again for watching, and we look forward to joining up with you again soon. Goodbye.